Boom, what's up, y'all? Welcome to the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm always extra thankful for the people that chill out with us on a Friday evening. Um, Friday's a little special. Uh, Big up to Spook Realm 4Q, who was first in the building as usual. Let me make this a little bit bigger so I can see. PSA, if you're not a jive turkey, and 99.9% of you watching this are not, but there's a couple. Please buy the Epic True Story. My brother's name is Kenny. The link is in the description below. And hit the like button. I say it every week. Every week, there's people that's not hitting that like button. I'm going to try to remind people during the course of the show. It just helps the algorithm so more people could get on and talk about what we like to talk about. And big up to the Rewind crew who's going to check this out later on. The Rewind crew is huge. Big up to the Rewind crew. Um, Rod Justice Hip Hop, what up? I saw this. Gregory Nettis says, yo, Kenny, what do you think about the Cash Money versus No Limit verses this month? Are you a fan of them? First of all, this is the first time hearing about this. I didn't even know verses was still going on. Now, that's a verses that makes sense to me. Similar errors, same area. Although, if Cash Money brings Young Money, I don't see how anybody in this era could really compete with Young Money. It's not, you can't even, you know, I don't know how you even compete with that. If you bring out Drake and Nicki Minaj, I mean, No Limit, um, and Mia X isn't here anymore. Rest in peace. Uh, C Murder, is he still locked up? I believe so. Is Snoop gonna represent No Limit? Snoop could come out and do some joints, but that's gonna be a tough one. It would have to be old school Cash Money versus old school No Limit. That would be dope. Otherwise, that's a tough one, but I like it. Um, this too, Gregory noticed. So you can remember the Y2K 1999 panic and the 2012 end of the world. People going crazy with those events. Word up, son. Yes, I wasn't too worried about 2012. Something about that didn't bother me, but that 1999 Y2K had me a little concerned. I remember at the time. Both of those turned out to be nothing that we noticed. Um, and then, of course, just last month we had a big one, the Rapture. Uh, as far as I can see, it didn't happen. Um, because when people say the end of the world and change, there could be a little event that happens that seems minor that could have such a rippling effect down the road that you could see where it was the beginning of the end, but you just didn't see it at the time. So that's why I say I didn't notice, but it could have happened. Um, 2012 was not the end of our world, or 1999, but I remember that. And there'll be more. Abel Valdez says, 19, uh, Peace Kenny, I was listening to High School High soundtrack and forgot Karis had a song on there. Yeah. I think we did a show for the High School High. Uh, I think we did a show for them, if I recall. Um, Ethan Sutton, what's good? Um, Thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. I haven't seen your name in a minute. What is something every person should try to do before they pass? Wow, that's a tough one. Um, you're thinking like one individual thing? I personally would say travel somewhere, um, see more of the world than your little world. What I've found is that it's a big world out there, and luckily, I've been able to travel a lot of places in the world due to being part of BDP, and I got to see a lot of different cultures and a lot of different ethnicities, and it opens your eyes a lot. Um, Even in America, I remember going to school, and I lived in New York my whole life in the hood, all the way up till I was 18. And even going away to college, just to college, was like a culture shock, amazing eye opener for me. And so I would encourage anybody before you end, if there's any place that you want to see or any culture that you want to explore, you should go. My on my bucket list is I want to see the pyramids, the Great Pyramids in Egypt. Have not gotten there yet, but will get there. Um, that's my opinion. But of course, there's many things. But that right there, you should try traveling somewhere. Great question. Let me see if I can run through this. Uh, John Walker, what's up? Supreme Divine, what's up? Carl Schreiner, uh, what's good? From the former Poetry One. Mike Rocks 25. Um, JT, what up? Jason Wall, what up? Um, let's see. MMA Crossfire. Still got see the YouTube is still messing around with people's names. Salute to you. The original CMC. Um, MK Ultra. Tracy, hey, what's up, Tracy? Dan Marasuti from Scarborough, Canada. What up? I see all the regulars. Samuel Gervais, uh, Derek Mallory, Minneapolis. Uh, this had me laughing all week. The past few days, mass holes. People from Massachusetts are mass holes. That is so funny to me. Kenneth Smith, what's up? Um, Explicit DMC, what's up? Um, Icon Poet, what up? It ain't cool being a jive turkey so close to Thanksgiving. Word. Philly Sheed, what up? Carl Schreiner says, dope shirt, Kenny. Yes. Thank you. This is part of Gangstar. I got this shirt from my brother, DJ Premier. Big up Preem, who gave me this shirt years ago. Um, Icon Points, the Young Money turned out to be a label of weirdos. I don't know. Weirdos, there's a lot of weirdos and a lot of labels. Vincent Ross, Kenny, what up? Have you heard the Kane's new track produced by RZA briefly? Sounds similar to a Preem track to me. Yeah, Mystical is not gonna be there, Ethan Sutton. That dude, um, that dude, uh, I don't even want to comment on the things he's done, but I can't believe it. Um, Carl Schreiner, thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. Just on the strength of therapy I got from coming in here and having a good vibes, I appreciate you, Kenny, all the regulars. Uh, Yo, thank you so much. It's therapeutic for me as well, and I hope some people find, the hour and a half that we do here twice a week, just a calming moment in your life. We could just sit here and talk and chill and get together. It's great. Last night, couple things. Last night, I went on Instagram Live for a second. It's my very first time going on Instagram Live, and a couple of people who are not followers on YouTube was on the Instagram Live. I was on there for like 45 minutes, just testing the water, seeing what's up. And DJ Chuck Chill Out uh, came in the live and had a couple of words. Shout out to the legendary New York City DJ Chuck Chill Out. Um, but yeah, this is therapeutic for me too. And plus, I love to talk about hip hop. So, Silk Child 75. Thank you. He says, what's good, KP? It's me, Terrell. Oh, Terrell McMillan, what's up? YouTube been playing with my name, and Mia X is alive and well. What? I thought Mia X passed. Am I thinking of Gangsta Boo then? Wait a minute. I thought Mia X passed. Oh, don't let me spread any rumors. Sorry, Mia X. I thought she passed. Why did I think that? Oh, that's dope. I never met Mia X or Gangsta Boo. Um, but yeah, that would be interesting. Sorry, my bad, y'all. Mia X is alive. Which reminds me, I want to real quick give a shout out and a rest in peace. Matter of fact, I'm gonna dedicate this show to my homeboy, a Jersey City DJ legend. Those of you that's from the Jersey area, he DJ'd all over Jersey and New York, but he's a Jersey City native who I found out passed away yesterday. His name is DJ Wimpy B. And if you are in from Jersey City, he is the DJ of Jersey City and a legend in this area. I've had the pleasure of doing a couple of parties with him, and he's a good guy. Always had a smile on his face. Every time I saw Wimpy B, it was all love. Um, and I found out that he passed yesterday, um, which was tough. So rest in peace to Wimpy B and condolences to his family. I'm gonna dedicate this show to my man and anybody out there that's from Jersey City or the Jersey area that know who he is. Yes, Wimpy passed away yesterday. Okay, let us move on. Sweet Goldilocks, what's up? Sammy Gervais says Mia X is alive, but she stated that she will no longer work with Master P. Wow. Houdini's Escape album came out 41 years ago today. So many classics on that record. Word. And the great Larry Smith, the great. I saw Rashad Smith of Tumbling Dice fame production talking about doing a documentary on Larry Smith. I would love to see that. Um, One of the first great producers in hip hop who shaped the sound of early hip hop. And he was Houdini's main producer, produced all those hits. Rest in peace to Ecstasy. Big up to my man Grandmaster D. If you please. Um, I met Jalil once. I did not know that he was writing all of the rhymes for Houdini till I think I saw an unsung on them. Did not know that Jalil wrote all of them records. Um, let's see. Uh, let's see. I'm trying to see who I met. Ants on Candy. What's up? Um, Jack Swagger says YouTube be out here exposing folks' alter ego. Yeah, I'm surprised my name is still my name on there. Gregory Nellis, you just be throwing out random basketball players, but big up Vinny Johnson from Brooklyn. Um, the microwave, the guy who coined that term, or the term was coined for him, one of the first well, not one of the first, but one of the most notable early six men in basketball. And he had a brother named Eric Johnson, who was a dope basketball player who I used to play against in high school, all city, New York City player, Eric Johnson. That's my man. Haven't seen him in 40 years. Uh, and he used to be on a team with the actor and best friend of Will Smith, Dwayne Martin. Dwayne Martin, I used to play against him in high school. Dwayne Martin and Eric Johnson, Vinnie Johnson's brother, were on the same high school team, FDR, in Brooklyn. And Dwayne Martin was nice too. Big up to my man Shake. Let's see. Spook Realm says mass holes in the building. Yo, that is the funny. That might be one of the doper names ever. Carl Schreiner says that's even doper. You got it from Primo. Yes, I've gotten all kind of shirts from Primo. Every time I see Primo, I end up getting something from him. Oh man, I love Gangstar though. Love Gang. Everybody loves Gangstar. I would think. I watched somebody come on here and say, I wasn't really feeling Gangstar, which is your opinion. Mike Rocks, I saw that. Ralph Sampson says the NBA logo should be Dr. J. I don't know. There's an argument for that. Even though he started in the ABA, so that might be a strike against him. I don't have a problem with Jerry West being the logo. Not at all. Um, it's a good question, Dizzy. Hey, Kenny, do you listen to much reggae nowadays? What kind of music do you listen to most? I don't hardly listen to anything out right now. Um, I monitor popular music just to see things that I might play in the club when I'm DJing for the young parties. I do parties sometimes for people in their 20s, and you need to know the records that's hot. So I monitor records to see what they're doing, but I wouldn't listen to it on my own. I haven't listened to any reggae on my own. There's some Afro beats records that was cool that I listened to, but mostly I listen to, I believe we have heard already the greatest music that will ever be made. I think we've already heard it. Unless something comes out on something new, an artist on a Prince or Stevie Wonder or Michael Jackson, Beatles type level to come out now, new, brand new, which I don't see that, but it's possible. I believe that we have heard the best that there is already. So I find myself going back and listening to old stuff that even I haven't heard, but older. Um, I did hear something I liked the other day, and we were talking about the Bush Babies last week. We were talking about groups, and we were talking about the Bush Babies, and the Bush Babies got a new video. They used the Jungle Brothers beat from Straight Out the Jungle, but it's not that beat. It was the promo. I believe Q-Tip produced that. They did that beat over, and they're talking about Flatbush. It's a whole Flatbush Brooklyn anthem. And me being a Flatbush native, I related to that song so much because just about every place they were talking about, me and my brother was there. Um, too. KRS has a lot of Brooklyn roots too. Um, he made his bones in the Bronx, and he represents the Bronx, obviously. But our family had a lot of Brooklyn, a lot of Flatbush, and the Bush Babies got a song about Flatbush that I really, really liked. So big up to the Bush Babies. We were just talking about them. Haven't seen them dudes in forever. Pluto no DC says Plotino, Plotino. I said Pluto. Sorry, Plotino DC. Sorry if I butcher anybody's names. It's not intentional. Hey KP, outside of the US, where do you find dope records? You can find dope records anywhere. There's a lot. In Europe, there's tons of record shops. There's probably more record shops still. Well, when I was last in Europe, it was probably like a decade ago, but there was record shops all over the place. If you have time, you can go and find stuff. Um, yeah, I would say there are record shops. Um, and flea markets have a lot of good records. Sometimes not a lot of good records, a lot of junk in a flea market. But if you go to flea markets, they usually have records, and if you dig through, you might find a gem, something for like $1 in flea markets. Flea markets around the world and in Europe, there's a lot of records. B-Boy Jones says, Kenny, were you there for any of the Return to Boom Bap sessions? If so, what was that like? Um, well, first of all, I have to start with I did a breakdown on this on this channel, and I talk about it all the time, but it's pertinent to a lot of things that we talk about. It's the Sex and Violence Boogie Down Productions breakdown, the last Boogie Down Productions album. I was heavily involved in that album, and I did a whole breakdown on it on this channel. I did it about 2 years ago, so I know just about everybody has seen it. But if you knew, please check that out. So now, if you saw that, you would know that when Return of the Boom Bat was scheduled to be done, it was decided that they were getting all new producers and that I would not be working on anything. So I was really like banned from working with KRS at that time for a minute. Um, so coming to the studio knowing that you're not gonna work was tough, but also Preem was there. So that's my man. So I was interested to see what Preem was gonna do. Now keep in mind, this isn't Preem as we know him today. This is Gangstar Preem, who had not really ventured out. I really believe BDP is one of the earliest productions that he did outside of his own crew. I'm sure he probably had a remix here and there, but outside of his own crew, BDP was early. So we was getting Gangstar DJ Premier to work with KRS. And I also say all the time that I was the first person to say they should work with Premier, and I got brushed off. And then they ended up working with Premier like 6 months later. But I came to the studio for the second song they worked on, which was Out of Here. And when we came in the studio, Preem had already did the beat. So he's like, yo, I got a beat. What do y'all think? No, Chris wasn't even in the room yet. It was me and Willie D. Willie D of BDP. We came in there and he hit the button, boom, and the beat for Out of Here came on. Doom, 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 doom. We was like, yo. And I believe Preem had this. He said he's gonna cut up. Boogie Down was performing here. They ain't no joke. And either it was me or Willie D. I can't remember which one of us. I'm gonna say me, but it might have been Will, who said you should throw in Down with the Sound called BDP. That was like a suggestion. And Preem was like, yeah. And he said, I'm gonna do it tomorrow. So he had the beat up. He had half of the scratch he was gonna do, the Slick Rick. And then Chris came in, heard the beat and was like, let's go. Went right in the booth and did the song with different lyrics. Out of Here's lyrics had some different lyrics in it that Chris changed. So that was the first session I was in. That might have been the only session on Return of the Boom Bap that I was in. And then I came in, Chris, even though Jive said I can't do anything, he still was like, yo, you got some music? And I did a track that we was gonna use, but then it didn't make the album. Jive probably vetoed it when they heard it was me. Um, and I put it up on this channel. It's called KRS-One 1993 Demo. And the beat that we were going to use is on there, but it's off a cassette. So it was like a practice tape. It was like us working out routines. The beat is the same, and one of the rhymes are the same, and we were working it out. Then we came in the studio, and Kid Capri did a hook to it, but then they ended up not using it. So I was there for that, the song I did that they didn't use, and I was there for Out of Here. And of course, Black Cop, me and Chris worked on that. I co-produced that song, but that was way before. That was like 6 months or something before Return of the Boom Bap was even coming out. That was on the CB4 soundtrack. So I was not on the album. So and at that time I was working with Heather B too. So I was down the hall in the Preem is in the B room. I was in the A room, which was the beat miners was in that room all the time. But I was in the A room working on some stuff with Heather. So I was in the D&D, but I was in a different room working on some other stuff. And Chris was working on that. Then of course, afterwards, I got to do some remixes. I did Sound of the Police remix, and me and Chris did hip hop versus rap. But those were like after the album came out. So, and I did a Mortal Thoughts remix too. So that's a long-winded answer to your question. Um, it was cool to be in the sessions I was in, but it was bittersweet because I know I was booted out of the mix. Um, that is a long-winded answer to the question. But yeah, I remember those. That was a very interesting time. And when the album first started, when they first started working, it was not a KRS-One solo album. I say this all the time. The first song that Premier did with Chris was called "The P Is Still Free." I was not in the studio for that song, and that was on the Trespass soundtrack, the movie Trespass soundtrack. And if you look at it, it was Boogie Down Productions, The P Is Still Free. So when Premier was brought on to do work with Chris, it was still Boogie Down Productions. Preem was brought in to work on the new Boogie Down Productions. And then during the course of that, it became KRS-One solo album. So there's a lot of misconceptions about that. But you know, I'll let the narrative stay as the narrative. But if you look at the facts, The P Is Still Free is a Boogie Down Productions song. Preem was, I believe, hired to do 5 songs. If I remember correctly, Premier was hired to do 5 songs. And the first one was The P Is Still Free, and the second one was Out of Here. But The P Is Still Free was a Boogie Down production song, as was Black Cop. So in the midst of that, it became a KRS solo album. All right, I'm jumping off that subject, but uh, yes. Yeah, I see a lot of Mia X is still alive. I'm way behind now. I'm super far behind. Yeah, Verse Pro is Gangsta Boo that passed. I thought Mia X passed too, though. I don't know why I thought that. I don't know why I thought that. Explicit says, Kenny, I wasn't around to see the Tuesday show, but I did catch up, entertaining as usual. Thank you so much. And big up for being in the Rewind crew. Um, let's talk about Disco King Mario. I don't know much about Disco King Mario. I've heard his name mentioned quite a few times, but I don't know anything about Disco King Mario. Although Said G was on this channel and he went into great detail about Disco King Mario on both his interviews. So if you want to talk about Disco King or get some information, Said G on this channel talked about it, but I don't know much about Disco King Mario. Um, yeah, a Larry Smith documentary would be amazing. I'm about to do my Benny Dill scroll down because I'm super behind because I'm running my mouth. Um, Tor one. Ken, what's your thoughts about AI created music? I already think it's whack, but I'm all for using technology to enhance creative endeavors, but AI cranking out lyrics and music, etc. Interesting times we are living in. Yeah, I think it's whack. But that's where we're headed. We're headed for AI music with algorithms that's programmed to make the songs that have the best chance of being successful. So they're gonna pick the tempos, the melodies, the notes, the sound of the record that AI thinks would be most successful to the masses. So I wonder how that's gonna turn out. But we're headed that direction. What makes art art is human beings creating, and then other human beings looking at the creation and deciding for themselves whether they like it or not. An AI with unlimited resources that can make art in seconds, whole intricate paintings or music in seconds. I don't know. You know, AI movies are coming too. We're about to have AI movie stars. We're gonna have like an Arnold Schwarzenegger, somebody that everybody loves, but he's not even gonna be real. But he's gonna be having whole series, and it might be dope. Who knows? That's what the whole actors strike was about. The studios were trying to put in the contract that once you do a movie, the studio owns your image and likeness, and they can now make AI versions of you and use it for future projects. So once you do a movie, they got it. Now we don't need you anymore. We got your image and likeness, and we're gonna make it, and we're gonna use it to make more movies. The, the actors were like, hell no, and that's why they went on strike, and they fought that, and they won, I believe. Mr. York says Dwayne Shakes Martin. Yeah, I used to play against him in high school. Very good basketball player. Pat Mina says Larry Smith produced Houdini, Run DMC, Love Bug Starsky. You know how dope At the Fever was, and You Gotta Believe? Among others. And yes, I'm a masshole. Back in the early 2000s, my crew made a track called Masshole Hip Hop. I've never heard this masshole thing before. I love it. Um, I was looking at Cool Rock Ski from the Fat Boys talk about their early days, and they said Larry Smith, Curtis Blow brought Larry Smith into the studio to work on some Fat Boys too. So let me find out that Larry Smith was doing Run DMC, Houdini, and the Fat Boys. What? Ridiculous. Sydney Rose says RIP to Space Ace Freely. Freely, I don't know who that is, but rest in peace to him. Um, let's see. And Knox says, I miss Gangstar. He had a very unique style, sharp and to the point. Yeah, you mean Guru. I remember there was a time when we thought his name was Gangstar. Like we thought Gangstar was one person and the DJ was a DJ for Gangstar, the guy. I remember everybody used to call him Gangstar. But Gangstar is a group. Um, oh, what is this? Kenneth Smith says Mia X is alive. Kenny, maybe you thought because she was diagnosed with uterine cancer in the 2010s. She beat it, but the surgeons accidentally tore off her cornea, leaving her with 73% vision in one eye. What? How did they tear off her cornea doing uterine surgery? That sounds like a nice lawsuit. I know Philly Sheet. Everybody's been saying this. I don't use these words loosely, but that new Mobb Deep album is incredible. I have not heard it yet, but everyone is saying that. I needed time to sit down and really get into it. Plus, I've been working on my own music, so I'm trying not to listen to too much other stuff. But I would love to hear what Alchemist and Havoc has done. I've never met either one of them. And Knox says, I agree, Kenny. We evolved from the greatest era. We really did, man. We really did. I just don't know. I mean, there always could be a new wave of things, but as far as entertainment, I just don't know if I will ever see anything as good as what we saw. We've seen at least 10, 15 once in a lifetime artists, more than that, just in pop music, once in a lifetime artists. And now I'm not seeing these generational talents. They may be out there, but they're not in the mainstream. Like, they're not in my face. All I'm seeing is carbon copies and watered down versions and mediocrity. I'm just not excited. Um, I'm just not excited. Sadly, I want to be. Um, Dr. Charles Bombay says, Kenny, quick quick check-in and on the no fun clock tonight. Shout out our brother Dre Stack. Yes, Dre Stack Dollars. That was an intense comment on Tuesday. Absolutely. Dre Stacks. Dre Stacks is going through a lot. Um, and we wish you nothing but love and healing on this channel. Um, and if any, you know, moments that you have here on the Kenny Parker Show helps in your healing, that is fantastic, man. That's what we here for. Uh, Mr. York, KP, what's the rarest record in your collection or your best find? I don't know. What's the rarest records I have in my collection are like BDP records. Um, I have acetate of, there's a song on Criminal Minded called Elementary. But the Elementary that came out on the album is not the original Elementary. There was a different beat. And I have the acetate. And you know what's funny? I gave a guy that used to work at a record store, I'm not going to say the name of the record store, but I gave him a copy of the acetate, the version that I have, the instrumental. And next thing I know, it was on the Criminal Minded, I think it was 25th anniversary. They had used the actual audio that I gave this guy, ended up being on the Criminal Minded 25th Deluxe Edition. I'm like, yo, he sold it to them? How did they get that? But I believe it was Scott LaRock's acetate. Him and Chris used to rock that. This is before Criminal Minded came out. It's now in my possession. It's an acetate. It's small, like a dub plate. I have that, and I have an acetate of KRS before Boogie Down Productions. I guess it was what's the name of the record? Advance. You've Got to Advance. I believe that's their first record. I'm not sure if Success is the word was first or Advance. I'm not sure which one came first, but I have an Advance acetate. Those are like my rarest. Now for finds, I'm not really sure. I'm not sure about that. I have a 7 Minutes of Funk original that I found for $2. Um, I'm not sure about that. That's a great question. I'd have to look. Original CMCs in class. Thank you so much for your contribution. As usual, you already know what it is. Salute, KP. Not trying to get you behind. It's all good. But another channel brought this up. The first boom bap album, A Tribe Called Quest, Low End Theory. Second, KRS One Return to Boom Bap, Black Moon Enter the Stage. I saw that. I saw a guy breaking down what he considered boom bap. I didn't really agree with that. I think Marley Marl is really the father of boom bap as we know it. Because he did a whole breakdown where he was like, T. La Rock was the first person to say the words boom bap. At the end of It's Yours, first of all, shout out to my brother T. La Rock. That's my man. Um, at the end of It's Yours, he goes, the boom, the bap, the boom bap, the boom, the bap. He says that. But then that was in like 84, 85, or whenever that came out, 85, 84. And no one said that word again for years. I think Sucker MCs is the first real boom bap song that changed the game. After Sucker MCs, that changed everything. And then Marley's production. I, I look at like the drum patterns and the hard drums. You look at like Check Out My Melody or Eric B. is President, MC Shan, The Bridge, Biz, Make the Music with Your Mouth Biz. To me, those are boom bap songs. And even Criminal Minded, he said Criminal Minded was not a boom bap album. I think it was a boom bap album. I think the only songs on Criminal Minded that might not be considered boom bap was Listen to My 9 millimeter Go Bang. That's more like a reggae R&B sounding song with hard lyrics on it. And I guess Elementary, but that's even a little bit. I would say Paid in Full and Criminal Minded are boom bap albums to me. Um, and I saw he said Low End Theory is the first, and KRS Return to Boom Bap is the second. Mm, Black Moon Enter the Stage. Those are all boom bap. First of all, I don't even know if Low End Theory is that a boom bap type album. I mean, the drums was hard, but People's Instinctive Travels was hard. And like um Straight Out the Jungle was hard. Like I don't know what he means by that. But that's a great question. Um I don't know what he meant by that, but I don't know if I agree that 1992, 91, 92 is the first beginnings of boom bap. I don't know if I agree with that. Um Let me remind everybody, please hit the like button. I'm going to do that from time to time. And once again, rest in peace to my man from Jersey City, DJ Wimpy B. Great DJ and a legend in the city. Um, I'm like 20 minutes behind. So, what we're going to do. Oh, wait, let me jump in there. We talked about this briefly last week. Says KP seen this article on Facebook today talking about there's a whole YouTube post, with like 100,000 views. KP seen this article on Facebook today talking about the suspicion on Scott LaRock's unaliving. Is there some reason for this? Sounds like the fingers pointing to B-Boy Records. That mostly comes from Said G's opinion that Scott LaRock, there was a conspiracy behind Scott LaRock's passing. And it could be true, but I personally don't see. I think there's too many moving parts, too many things that have had to line up that don't make sense to me in order for that conspiracy to be true. Like, Scott was lured to the location and the sniper was already in place when he got there. That would imply, see, he's implying that certain people conspired, because that would imply that D Nice, who is the reason why Scott went there that day, that's implying that either D Nice knew what was going to happen, or somebody in that camp, in that car, because there's a car that went there with a few people in the car, somebody in that car tipped off somebody in advance. Keep in mind, there was no beepers really, there was no cell phones, there was nothing, it was landlines. This is 1987. Someone tipped off someone to be in place to where Scott was going to be in the next half hour or something. That sounds very far-fetched to me. And then if the sniper was in place, he had ample time to pop off. He waited for Scott to get out the car, confront the people that D Nice had the beef with, piece it out, squash the beef. Scott got back in the car, and then the sniper started shooting at the car. He waited for Scott to get in the car. Now, once Scott's in the car, you can, there's no vision, there's no sight. If you were already in place, the minute he jumped out, you could have got him. Or at any point, you wait till he gets back in the car, and then you take a shot, and it's the perfect shot. I don't know. I'm not disputing. Yeah, I am disputing Sajik. I'm not disputing him, but I'm just saying that what he's saying could be true. But to me, a lot of things would have had to line up, or it's just a simple act of violence that was common in New York in 1987. Thousands of people were injured in New York in 1987. Thousands. In the Bronx? But, and to say that B-Boy Records, because the story is like Chris was going to leave, BDP was leaving B-Boy Records. And apparently, Warner Brothers, the story I got is that Warner Brothers wanted to sign BDP. They were going to sign to Warner Brothers Records. And Scott was spearheading that deal, I guess. Now, G is saying that Warner Brothers and Jive Records were both in the mix. I didn't know Jive was in the mix. As far as I understand it, they was in the mix after the fact. But B-Boy Records wanted Chris and they was gonna have to buy BDP out of B-Boy Records. So B-Boy Records was saying who would give us the best deal, apparently. They was thinking that Jive would give them the best deal over Warner Brothers. And Chris wanted to go with Jive, and Scott wanted to go to Warner Brothers. And since Scott was really the leader of the group, if he stayed alive, BDP would have went to Warner Brothers. So B-Boy Records conspired to remove Scott from the equation so that Chris could sign to Jive and they can get a better deal. Now, how I understand it, after Scott passed, Chris still wanted to sign with Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers said, I believe it's Warner Brothers. I could be wrong with the label, but I believe it's Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers said, we don't want Boogie Down Productions without Scott LaRock. We don't want half the group. We want a whole group. And without Scott LaRock, Boogie Down Productions is over And so Warner Brothers passed on KRS-One, which to me is insanity. But Warner Brothers decided that we didn't want KRS-One. He still wanted to go to Warner Brothers. They told him no. That's a story I heard. I could be wrong because I was not there, but I'm pretty sure my facts are from the horse's mouth. And so Jive, as I understand it, came in later on after Warner Brothers said no. They were shopping, and Jive said, "We'll take KRS and D Nice and Miss Melody." That's how I understand it. Now I could be wrong because if Jive was in the mix at the same time as Warner Brothers, then I could see some conflict. But to say to get Scott out of the way and the way it happened, it just seems too far fetched for me. And this is really going viral. Said G said this a few years back on Vlad, and it keeps coming up. And I don't know, man. I need to see something more than just what's said. I need to see more evidence that leans in that direction. It's funny though, nobody in that car has ever spoken about what happened, as far as I'm concerned. Not publicly. There was a few people in that car. As far as I understand it, there was. Now, let me not say something that I don't know for a fact, but as far as I heard, I hate saying what I heard. What I heard could be anything, but from what I heard, there was like 5 people there, 6 people with Scott. It wasn't just Scott, and nobody has told the story. I find that kind of odd. Um, but I wasn't there, so I heard about it days later. But now I'm super behind. But yeah, I saw that, and I did want to um I did want to comment on that. And I'm not disrespecting my brother said G, because like I'm saying, he could be correct, but I need to see more. What he's saying happened to me sounds too many things would have had to line up. I don't know. Divine Existence says, KP, I saw a recent interview where Preem said he acknowledged that he felt like he made it in the industry when KRS requested to work with him on the Boom Bap album. Yeah, at that time, yeah. Um, that was a great pairing. Great pairing. I knew it would work, man. I knew it was gonna be dope. All right, I'm doing the Benny Doyle scroll down now because I'm way behind. So let's see. Let's see where I'm at. Um, damn, I'm just jumping. I'm just jumping. I'm gonna start right here. Um, yes, Mr. Yo, RIP DJ Wimpy B, Chilltown JC. Yes. He is I would say he is the DJ of Jersey City. He's the guy. Um, yeah, John Walker says RoboCop. Yeah, there was another RoboCop, not the RoboCop. There was a RoboCop before the RoboCop. I did a breakdown. Who are the members of Boogie Down Productions? I did it on this channel. Go back and check it out. There's a RoboCop that Chris shouts out on still number one. RoboCop is down with us. That's the second RoboCop. There's a RoboCop before him that was with Scott at that time. And there's implications with him. I don't know. I don't know. Jack Swagger says if Scott was lured, then D Nice is implicated. That is an episode of Murder She Wrote. Yeah, that sounds. With D Nice's relationship with Scott LaRock, that was practically his father, man. I just don't see it. I don't see it over the record deal. I just don't see it. But money will make people do amazing things. So I don't put nothing past anybody when it comes to money. But This is something I wouldn't even bring up to Chris. I wouldn't even mention this to him because I can see him say, Kenny, what the hell are you talking about? I wouldn't even mention this to him. Not at all. Um, Rich Shot says, what t-shirt are you wearing, KP? I am wearing Gangstar. And on the back has a bunch of the albums. I got this shirt from Preem, I think in '09, '09 or 2010, maybe either '09 or 2010. It's a Gangstar t-shirt. My man Preem hooked me up. You know what else Preem gave me this day? His sneakers. Premier has some Air Force Ones. DJ Premier limited Air Force Ones. And he gave me a pair of Air Force Ones too, in my size. Preem gave me some Air Force One, DJ Premier Preem Air Force Ones, which I still have, and this shirt on that day. Um, Sydney Rose says BDP on Warner Brothers sounds crazy now. Yeah, yeah. Um, let's see. Lindell says, I believe you, KP. Thank you so much. But of course, I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't there. Excuse me. I wasn't there. Just things don't really line up like that. And the love that Scott and D Nice had, that's why when D Nice called and said he had a problem, Scott was there in a heartbeat. That was his son. That's why it just seems. Hmm, let's see. Let's see. Jack Swag says, Kenny, you might have to interview said G on a special episode going through his theory in depth, flesh out the whole story. I mean, he kind of went in depth. The first interview I did with him on this channel, he kind of went in depth, and I didn't really challenge. I just listened to what he was saying. I'm not trying to challenge anybody. Well, if something I think is factually wrong, I would say something. But he's giving his opinion based on I don't know, because he wasn't there either, but he at that time was working very closely with Scott and Chris and all of them. So he was probably more plugged in than me at that time. Although I don't know if that's true because I was talking to Chris all the time. I mean, Chris is my brother, so of course I get scoop. So I don't know, but Scott said he was very close with Scott and that crew. So I don't know. That would be great to get to the bottom of that because that is a real nasty accusation. Um, Henry Cedillo says someone did tell a story on the internet some years ago. They said Scott resolved the problem D Nice had in the projects, and as they were driving away, someone shot the car from the roof. Yeah, that part is out, but I'm talking about the people in the car. I've never really heard, even being around them, I've never really heard. Even D Nice can really clear up this whole thing. He would know better than anybody the whole story. Um, and it's very hurtful, man. Everyone loved Scott, so I know people they don't have to talk about anything. Come to think of it, you don't owe anybody any explanations. I just found it odd that no one has really cleared up, and you let these rumors just grow and misinformation just go all around, and the people who were in the car could easily say what happened. Um, JT says, "Hey KP, I hope you're okay speaking on it. I know some of this might be triggering for you. Um, it's only triggering that implications are made that certain people conspired against this man, and I it's possible, but I find it hard to believe. Um, Me and Scott were cool. Me and Scott were cool. Please get the book. I go on great detail about my relationship with Scott. Um, but me and Scott never hung out. Like I never hung it with Scott like that. Like we weren't like, you know, call up Scott and let's go chill. It wasn't like that. I see whenever I saw Scott, Chris was there. I was with Chris and Scott was there, and then we interacted. But he was a beloved person. I could say that he was beloved. Um, I'm kind of trying to move off this topic, but it's a very serious topic. I see people talking about it. It's a serious topic. Um, Explicit. This is interesting. Kenny, do you think it's possible for KRS to have worked with Dr. Dre? I know Rakim had creative control differences when they worked together. I heard that around that time, KRS had run into Dre, and they had spoke about doing some stuff. But Dr. Dre was saying, out of respect to the God and them working on a project, he wouldn't feel that it was right to start working with KRS when he was working with the God. So he, Dr. Dre, chose to not, to finish what he started with Rakim and not jump over to KRS. But I believe this was told to me that they had a conversation. It just, wasn't the right time. It would be dope now. It'd be dope for any time. That's right, because KP, you need Preem to sign the Air Force Ones. I should have gotten him to sign it that day. And don't forget to give Heather B one shoe because she need that half. Yeah, Heather came on here. Heather feels that she's entitled to half of anything on this channel whenever she comes. But yeah, that's why Heather's banned. Heather B is banned from the show. Um, and I remember when Preem gave me the sneakers, I was like, damn, Preem, I don't even know what to do. Should I wear them or not? And he said, do what you want to do. They're your sneakers. Like he said, here, like you can wear them or you can not wear them. It's up to you. Uh, and I chose not to wear them. So I've had these DJ Premier sneakers in my possession for like 16 years. Um, and I chose not to wear them. Mr. York says, KP, what was your 40 ounce of choice back in the LQ days? I do not drink. So my 40 ounce of choice would have been a 40 ounce of cranberry juice probably at that time. I don't even know if this is true. I'm not going to read this out, but this is wild. I don't even know if that's true. I put it up there, but I don't know if that's true. I'm not going to I never heard that. Jack Swagger says, KP, you don't have to challenge said G, but you can push back on certain things. Yeah, you could push back, but if I push back, then he push back. Then I have to push back, then he has to push back, and then there we are, right? Um, on something that I was not there for. If I was there, I can have more pushback because I could be like, yo, I know for a fact because I was there. All my information is secondhand, although I feel my information is from credible sources, but even my sources weren't there. So I need to hear from the people that was in the car. Somebody told me that Chris Lighty was in the car too. Rest in peace to the great Chris Lighty. I heard not quite sure, not 100% sure. I'm going to go 80% that one of the people in the car was Chris Lighty. Hmm. Uh, yeah, I saw somebody said D Nice never said nothing about it. He had. I know it's real tough for him. I wouldn't. He doesn't have to say anything. That probably destroyed him. Dreamweaver, what would be different about KRS's career if Scott would have lived? I don't. That's a great question because Scott LaRock was the leader of the group. You ever go back and look at old interviews of Boogie Down Productions when Scott was alive? If you ever look, you see Scott did all the talking, and KRS was kind of playing the background. Only time Chris really talked was on record. Now, if you know KRS, his career after that, it's inconceivable that he would be in the background not talking. But Scott was the leader of the group. So at some point, KRS's voice and leadership would have had to have risen up. So now I don't know if it would have caused a conflict, or I don't know if Scott would have allowed Chris to, become the artist that he wanted to become. Um, Scott was in charge of the production, so KRS, the producer, might not have done as much stuff. So, like, by all means necessary, all of those BDP albums would have probably had a little different sound, maybe, because Scott LaRock was the producer on Criminal Minded, except for The Bridge Is Over. KRS-One produced The Bridge Is Over, a banging record, by the way, a beat. But how much? Because Chris really was in charge of everything after that. How much would of his personality would have been able to come out if Scott lived? That would have been the question. I don't know the answer. Uh, but that's a great question. That's a great question. I'm gonna save for when Chris comes on here. I'm gonna ask him that. He would have that would be great. Jason Wall says, was there several LaRocks or did Scott LaRock take T LaRock's name? I remember King said that was a dope line. No, I believe there was a bunch of LaRocks. I know a EC LaRock. I know a Tom LaRock. They're DJs. There was a few LaRocks at the time. I don't know how Scott and T LaRock, I don't know how that went. I know they were cool with each other, so there wasn't any beef behind it. I don't know who had the LaRock name first. Um, oh, I'm bugging. Monsieur Coke LaRock was the first. I'm bugging. I'm saying I don't know who was the first between Scott and T LaRock, but yeah, Coke LaRock. Yeah, duh. It's a good one, Mr. York. Good one. Of course, Coke LaRock. Who hurt and then bam. KP, lots of people say Scott came from an affluent family and he used to look out for everybody. Scott seemed like a protector. I'm not sure of his back. I mean, I've seen documentaries on him. I don't know if he was an affluent family or affluent compared to everyone else in the Bronx. Compared to the hood, he probably was. If you lived in a house, you was affluent. If you had a car, you was affluent in the hood in New York at that time. Um, but he did seem like a protector. Um, all I could say, I was only around him a few times, but the times that I was around him, Everybody loved him, and he was like the center of the attention. Even when he came in the Latin quarters, BDP used to come in Latin quarters like 30, 40 deep. The whole BX was there when BDP would come. But Scott by himself would be like Scott plus 20 into the Latin quarters. And I remember him there, and he was like the center of attention. Like it was Scott, Scott, Scott. Like everybody was around him. Um, it's a tragic, tragic story. Uh, what's this? CMCs, once again, you already know. Speaking of DJs, do you know Buck Wild? Yeah, I've met him a few times. Yeah, it's the homie. He a dope producer, and his work on Mike Geronimo's first album was a 90s classic. He done a lot of dope beats. Most notably, Whoa. He did a million selling beat. And I think he did I Got a Story to Tell with Biggie. He's done a few beats. Shout out to Digging in the Crates. I remember one time I went to A1 Records in New York City, the probably the most prominent secondhand record store shop and beat digging shop. And I went in there and I saw Buck Wild was in there. And we kicked it for a second. Yes, Buck Wild is super cool. And shout out to Mike Geronimo too, from Flushing, Queens. I'm so high, you so high. He was right there. He was right there. I feel like he needed one more because he had like Shit's Real. That was a bigger banger. Then he had the Master IC, I'm So High, You So High. And then he was right there. He needed one more, I think, to get over the hump because he was nice on the mic. I feel like he needed one more. And didn't Buck Wild do Master IC too? I feel like Mike Geronimo needed one more to get over the hump. Shout out to Mike Geronimo. That's the homie though. Um, let's see. KP, this is off topic, but did you ever tour with the young black teenagers? What was your opinion of the whole idea behind the young black teenagers? Well, as I understand it, um, Public Enemy discovered them. And I saw Busta Rhymes tell a story that Public Enemy had some groups and they had a list of names that they picked. And the groups had to battle for the names. And they had leaders of the new school, young black teenagers, probably some other names. And whoever won the battle got to pick the names they wanted. So Busta and them said they went at young black teenagers. They went and they won the name leaders of the new school. And so young black teenagers became that group with the white kid. Now, had they won, they would have probably been leaders of the new school, and leaders would have been young black teenagers. That's the story that I saw Busta Rhymes tell. Now, had we toured with them, we never toured? We did a couple of shows with them, and I was cool with them. First of all, oh my God, how am I forgetting the DJ's name? That's my man. Oh no, he used to DJ on MTV Jams. Oh man, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name because that's my man too. Somebody tell me what's the DJ's name from Young Black Teenagers. But I used to see them all the time in the club. As I see, y'all know I was out and about all the time. Um, yeah, so I mean, it actually I don't know what other names they could have picked. I don't know how many names was on that list. Leaders of the New School, Young Black Teenagers. I would have loved to have seen what else they could have picked. Um, Tap the bottle and twist the cap. I thought that was cool. Um, I'm only a little behind right now. KP, do you feel if Scott was alive, BDP would have signed better record deals? No. In the 80s, you got to understand how bad these record deals are. It would have been a better record deal than B-Boy Records, which is basically zero. I think the record deal that KRS signed with Jive at the time was a good deal, relative. I mean, all record deals are terrible. Let's start there. Every single record deal is disgusting, criminal. But in the scheme of criminal, I don't know how much more they could have got unless you're independent, unless you go the Master P route, start your own label, which is what they were trying to do with B-Boy Records, Scott and Chris. But I don't know if it would have been possible. I don't know. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. Not in 87, 88. It's possible, though. We may have never had a stop the violence movement if Scott was not. And like, yes, I would agree with that because Scott was more on a different direction. He was pushing Chris to go in a different direction. Two, and to stop the violence movement is part to do with Scott and part to do with someone got ended at a concert, a BDP concert, which also sparked um, that song. Not the song, but the movement, because the song "Stop the Violence" was done before Chris signed to Jive. So that was after Criminal Minded, but before he signed to Jive, he did the song "Stop the Violence." And he had that song from the Criminal Minded times. He just didn't fit the album. Dizzy says, "Hey Kenny, did KRS come up with the phrase Boogie Down Bronx?" No, they've been saying the Boogie Down Bronx forever. That's just a Bronx. We talked about this on Tuesday. Each borough has their own nicknames, and then each cities in boroughs have their own nicknames. That's when we started talking about mass holes, Boston, Massachusetts being the mass holes. I think that is the best nickname of all time. Um, but there's um Money Earning Mount Vernon and Bed-Stuy, Do or Die, Brownsville, Never Ran, Never Will. Um, New Rochelle is Now Rule, right? That's the 5%ers, that's what they call it, Now Rule. Now Rule. I don't know which one it is. Um, don't let me get in trouble with the guards. Um, yeah, but different parts have different names. And Boogie Down Bronx is the name of the Bronx. That's where Boogie Down Productions come from because it's based in the Bronx. Jersey City is Chilltown, JC. Shout out to my man Wimpy B. Rest in peace. Kenny P. Google is saying who was in the Jeep. Check it out. Oh, really? I haven't seen that. Um, I gotta check that out. Can we trust Google though? But I would love to see who they say was in the Jeep. Um, let's see. Let's see. Gregory Nettis, boy, you love Queens. Mike Gerano is from my borough, Queens. Word up, son. Yeah. Shout out Mike Gerano and Royal Flush. First Pro says Ja Rule stole Mike Geronimo's career. Sad what happened to him. Well, they had different styles, but they were all working with Irv Gotti. And I believe I saw Irv in an interview saying that Mike Geronimo didn't like his beats or something and went in another direction. And Irv took the sound and went with Ja Rule. Ja Rule wanted to work with Irv or continue to work with Irv. And that's where we get Ja Rule. Now, maybe if Mike Geronimo had went in the Irv Gotti direction, who knows? Mike Geronimo would be a dope guest up here. Yo, Mike Geronimo, come on the show. Ant Knox says Mike Geronimo didn't have the right production, just like Cannabis. Their production didn't complement their lyrical skills. Production is everything, man. The beat is everything. Yeah, Gregory Nettis. Chuck D is wild for that. He had like a blood sport. Yes, DJ Scribbles. Oh man, I'm so sorry, Scribbles. That's my man. I can't believe that I couldn't remember his name like that. Scribbles, what up? Damn, I'll be forgetting names on here. I'll be bugging with that, but this is a crazy question. KP, do you know Evil D? Do I know Evil D? Evil D was on this channel about 8 months ago. We did a dope interview. Go back on this channel to the lives, and there's DJ Evil D came on the show. That is my brother. Shout out to Mr. Walt, the whole Beat Miners. That is family. That is straight family. Yes, I see a lot of people. Jack Swagger says scribble. Thank you, Google. Yes, scribble. I mean, I could go on Google here, but I'll press the wrong button and we'll be out. Oh. Disney says, Kenny, can you think of anyone who was in the clubs more than you in the 90s? I'm going to go with people I saw a lot. DJs mostly. Red Alert was in the party a lot. Not only was Red Alert DJing, he's one of the big DJs, but he was outside a lot. And I'm going to shout out the Awesome 2, Special K and Teddy Ted, more family members. They were outside a lot. Outside of that, because you got to understand, my reign of terror lasted from 1986 when South Bronx first came out. Latin Quarters was the first club I ever went to and fell in love with the nightlife, all the way to like 2000, 2001. And I tell a story of what made me stop hanging out at the clubs. There's an Epic Fails on this channel called Epic Fails. I barely survived the tunnel. If y'all get a chance to look at that, I talk about why I stopped hanging out. So you're talking about 14, 15 years of literally going out 4 to 5 times per week for 14 years. Actually, in the 80s, I was still in school. So the 80s was probably once or twice a week. But from like 89 on, at least 4 to 5 times a week. I would go to the big clubs. I would go to little hole in the walls. I would go to college parties. I would go to everything. Because once I found out that I could get in a club for free, it was over. It was over. And then um, we would do shows and then we'd be out. So we'd be out in other places. So I get to see other cities. I tell you an interesting story about hanging out when I was young, almost made a terrible decision. Um, I believe I was about 22, 23. I just started, I wasn't even DJing for BDP yet. I was just on the road, just helping out. I wasn't even a DJ yet. This had to be ghetto music time. And BDP was on tour. And after the show, we was in Chicago. Now y'all know the Chicago scene, but I didn't. We were in Chicago and we were leaving early in the morning. And after the show, I was like, our road manager name was Dave Gardner. What up, Dave? And he was from Chicago. And I told him I'm going to the after party, and nobody else wanted to go. So I'm like, I'm going by myself because I want to see, what Chicago is all about, nightlife. And Dave was like, yo, you can't go to these parties like that by yourself, not from this area. And I was just like real hot headed, like, like I'm from New York, man. Like, I'm not scared to go anywhere. And matter of fact, who are you to tell me what to do? That's how I was talking to him. And he was just trying to convince me, like, yo, just, please don't go to this after party by yourself. And I was like, man, get out of here. I'm going. You're not my father. And if I could do whatever I want, I'm grown. I was 22, grown. And so he was like, okay, I can't stop you. So I went back to the hotel room and I was just sitting there and I was just thinking about it. And I was like, you know what? He's right. Something just came over me and was like, you know what? He's right. Why do you need to go to this party by yourself in Chicago? Obviously you're not from here and you will stick out like a sore thumb. Why would you do that? And we're leaving at like 5 o'clock in the morning. So you're gonna go there by yourself and somehow get back to the hotel and be ready to go. I was like, this is just stupid. I decided not to go. And in the morning, I apologized to our manager for being so hot-headed. He was right. And now looking at the scene in Chicago, we've been back there a bunch of times and I learned about the projects out there. I think it was Cabrini Green, whatever. The projects and the gang situation out there. I was out of my mind thinking I should go to a party, but I was just so addicted to hanging out that I was willing to put myself in danger to go to a party. And I look back on it now like cringing, like, what was I thinking? Thank God Dave even said that to me, even though I was dissing him, I ended up listening to him. So, anyway, you 22 telling somebody you're grown. And imagine looking back on it now for all of us, like, imagine talking to your 22-year-old self. And this guy who was talking to me, he probably was like 35 or 38 telling me this. And I'm like, man, if you don't get out of here. Imagine your 22-year-old self, how you would imagine you right now looking at your 22-year-old self like you think you know stuff. Please. But anyway, I just thought about that when you was asking, should anybody hang out more than me? I don't know. Because my eras, I went from the 80s to the 90s into the 2000s. So I did a lot. That's a great question. And like I said, I'm not happy with the amount. And my brother used to get on me all the time. You hang out too much. You hang out too much. But I wouldn't listen. Mr. York says money making Manhattan. Yep. And it's funny too. I be watching these documentaries on like street legends from the streets. Y'all know all those legendary street dudes. And they be like, yeah, we used to be at this party and we used to be at that party and this thing happened at this party and this almost happened at this party. And I be sitting at home now going, yo, I was at that party. I used to be at that party. I remember seeing this person. And I was like, what? I was bugging. I mean, I used to be in a place with my peoples too, but still too much, too accessible. Um, Hype Style says if Boogie Down Productions had signed with Def Jam, they would have been a multi-platinum act. and Rick Rubin, David DMX, and also the Bomb Squad would have likely been working with them. Maybe, maybe. We're talking 87, so they would have been there with Slick Rick was signed, but he was still working on his album. PE was out, LL was out. They would have been like the big priorities. It would have been like LL, Public Enemy. Those would have been the big groups. And the Beastie Boys. Public Enemy, LL, and the Beastie Boys would have been the big groups. BDP would have been fighting for, space. But yeah, maybe. Shit, they couldn't have done as bad a job as Jive did. I think Jive did not do a great job with Boogie Down production. I think they did the minimal. Sammy Gervais says, KP, do you know if Flatbush has a slogan? I don't remember us ever having a slogan from Flatbush. No, just the Bush. That's it, just the Bush. If you say the Bush, everybody knows for the Bush. But Flatbush never had, I don't remember Flatbush ever having a slogan. I know Nostrand Avenue was N.A. Rock, right? But was that even the Flatbush part of Nostrand, or was that the Bed-Stuy part of Nostrand? You're right. We never had a slogan, man. Mike Rock says Newark, Brick City. Brick City was dope. Illtown, Jersey City. Jersey City. Oh, East Orange is Illtown. Jersey City is Chilltown. Patterson is Slick City. Even Baltimore is Charm City, right? Baltimore is Charm City. What is Philly? And these names stuck too. Like these was names that everybody went for. Sammy Gervais says Mike Geronimo didn't like Irv Gotti's beat, so he went to Diddy for a second album, Vendetta, which at the time would seem like a sound move. Diddy was the hottest producer in the game, but as it turned out, it wasn't for him. But it seemed like that. I would see that as being a good move at the time. Um, let's see. Oh yeah, Rosmo says, isn't Medina a name for the whole Brooklyn, not just Flatbush? Yeah, that's what the guards used to call Brooklyn is Medina, right? Or was that Manhattan? Is Manhattan Medina? I'm not a 5%er. I don't know. I think Medina is Brooklyn. So what's Manhattan then? I don't want to get in trouble with the guards. If any guards on here, please tell us. Spook Realm says Kenny rejected the check-ins. Exactly. I was bugging though. I might have had a bad time that night. Uh, Method named. It's a prime example of it's not where you're from, it's where you're at. I'm from Chicago. Yes, Method. In 1989 or whatever, if a dude from New York, if a rapper from New York just strolled into the club, how would it have been? Like I wouldn't have came in there on no, gangster nothing, but I would have been in there. Rosmel said at JT, no, Medina is East New York. Oh, East New York is Medina? I thought, wow, that's crazy. Oh, we're in overtime, y'all. I'm gonna hang out a little while longer. I forgot the time. Quick check. This is the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Big up to the Rewind crew. We just in here kicking it today. Shout out to my man DJ Wimpy B. Rest in peace from Jersey City. Um, Sydney Rose says, this is one of my favorite sayings too. Youth is a wonderful thing. Too bad it's wasted on the young. Youth is wasted on the young. Because we all say, if I knew now, if I can know then what I know now. But the problem is you don't. Yep, youth is wasted on the young. Yo, if camera phones were out in the 90s, it would have been off the hook. If camera phones are out in the 90s, you think what we see now, you think World Star and all that stuff is wild. The 90s and the 80s, early hip hop was wild. Your uncles, for you youngsters, your uncles were off the walls. Let's see. Mr. York says, KP, I'm glad you listened. I could have caught a beat down in Chicago for wearing my baseball hat backwards because I was an arrogant Bronxite. Good thing my cousin was with me and squashed it. Imagine that. Something as simple as your baseball hat being backwards could have had beef. You don't know. You just in the party chilling. You're right. Arrogant. I was super arrogant. I don't know why. I don't know what I was thinking. I cringed. I've never told that story before, too. This is the first time I ever told that story. Carl Shannon, I was at all the parties too at that age. Fearless. Yeah, we were fearless. You look back at them parties and you're like, what was I doing? Like in 2025, I'm like, yo, I'm covering my eyes. Like, what was I doing there? Rod Justice says at Chicago parties, they'd play Situation by Yazoo. Really? I called it the bangers anthem because the gangs would start fighting when it came on. Situation by Yazoo is a banger anthem? Are you kidding me, Rod Justice? That's nuts. That record is probably the least violent song. Philly She says, I think BDP would have become a priority on Def Jam on the strength of the Love from the Criminal Minded album. I don't know because they weren't a priority on Jive. BDP wasn't a priority on Jive when they came there. Even after By All Means Necessary, they still weren't a priority. One day I'm going to do my whole Jive rant. And when I do, I'm gonna put on my medallion. This is gonna be my new rant. Whenever I rant, I'm gonna put on this medallion and I'm gonna rant. I'm gonna really break down why I think Jive failed BDP. Mr. York says, gotta learn the rules of where you visit. Absolutely. Explicit said there are no rules. I don't know. Cause Divine Existence says Philly is Philadelphia. Yes. Philadelphia. Yes. Hypestyle says Detroit is Motown, Motor City. Gary, Indiana is GI. I didn't know Gary, Indiana had a slogan. Yeah, Motor City, Detroit. Yeah, and Philly's the city of brotherly love. I knew that. I knew that. Mr. York says Baltimore is Bodymore in the hood. Oh Lord, yeah, they wild in that area. That Baltimore DC area was off the walls in the 80s and 90s. They gave New York a run. They was always fighting to see who'd be number one worst. Divine Existence says, yes, Medina is Brooklyn. Manhattan is Mecca. Yes, Manhattan is the Mecca, and Brooklyn is Medina. Thank you, Divine Existence. And New Jersey is New Jerusalem. Cracky Dennis says, money making Manhattan. Kenny Rakim said it in Juice. Know the ledge. You right. My bad. My bad. Jack says, and yeah, the Buster story is true about them battling for the name. Yeah, Chicago is Chi-Town. I know that. How many times has Kanye said that? How many times has Kanye say Chi-Town and Common? I should know that. As a matter of fact, I should. Common is the homie. That's fam too. I should ask Common what was the procedure in '89 for me to go to the club by myself. There probably was no procedure. Yeah, we got Brownsville, never ran, never will. I know Coney Island was CI. Um, and Bushwick became Bucktown because of um, Boot Camp Click, or was Bushwick Bucktown before that? Chris 360 says, when we get another epic fail, I got a few to shoot. I just have to shoot them. Method Man says, ever met Method named? I keep saying Method. Ever met D'Angelo? Yeah, I mentioned last week. First of all, rest in peace to D'Angelo. I met him briefly. I mentioned this on Tuesday when Heather was signed to EMI, back when All Glocks Down was out. And we was having a meeting with the president of the company, I believe, the president of EMI. And we was in there having a meeting, and the door opened and somebody stuck their head in there, and it was D'Angelo. This is when Brown Sugar was new. And I remember he stuck his head in the room and his eyes were so closed. I don't know if that's his natural look or if he was on the Brown Sugar that day, but his eyes were practically closed when he was talking real smooth. And he opened the door. He's like, oh, like, my bad. And he closed the door. And then the meeting was wrapping up anyway. So when we came outside, he said, what's up? Gave him a pound, and that was it. This is before the album drops. This is just when Brown Sugar was out. That's when I met him. That was the one and only time that I met D'Angelo. Another beloved person. We are in overtime right now, y'all. Mark Thompson says they might have got you like Jesse Smollett. Yeah. KC Lingo says, Kenny, were you there when Chris received the key to the city of Compton? No, I was not, but that's wild. No, I was not. Divine Existence says, peace, I'm 5%. Medina is the entire Brooklyn. Areas within Medina have additional names as well. Dope. And Dell says, KP, I've been in and out of the chat because I'm babysitting my 5-year-old grandson. Dope. And my 2-year-old granddaughter. Oh, a 2-year-old. Woo. I wish you much strength. Those terrible twos are not a lie. I was wondering if you say or saw my question about L. King's son and Kwame's love songs. I'm not sure if I saw it. Was that in the comments section that you mentioned? I think you said that LL had love songs on his '85 album. Did you say that? Um, but the one that changed the game was "I Need Love." That was the one out of all of them that really stuck out and was copied after that. And King's son had "Hey Love, You're the One That I Adore." That record was dope. Shout out to King's son. I saw King's son a couple summers ago. JT, thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. Oh, snap. Heather B is in the building. Let me put a little something in the pot to split half. Oh, no. Say it isn't so. Heather's here? Oh, no. No, no. And you know what? I was about to get off. And I wouldn't even have been on, but we're in overtime. Patrick McLean, what's up? Oh, here we go. Wow, HB, what are you doing here? Heather B is banned from the channel, y'all. Y'all didn't know that Heather B was banned? Now she gonna want half of that. Get out of here, Heather. Heather, I'm pretty sure by now you heard about Wimpy. I know you and Wimpy were cool as well. Y'all probably go way back. Stu Grump says, "Oh snap, what's good, Heather B? Heather's in the building. Run that. Where's my money? That's Heather B, Jersey City, aka Chilltown. Yes, Chilltown JC. First time I heard that, I was like, what? Chilltown? Um, Silk Child says Plainfield is P Funk. I never heard that. P Funk? I mean, not that I've been out there. Chris says, H Bizzle, what up? Yes, H Bizzle is here. What's going on, Heather? Rich Shot says, is the old block really dangerous? That'd be a question for Chicago. I've only seen the documentaries on the music that comes from there. I'm not even gonna say nobody's name. I don't even want that smoke, but it looks real serious in the old block. Rosmel says Bucktown is Brownsville, but I thought Smith and Wesson and was from Bushwick. Oh, B-Boy Jones said BX is Pelon. Yes, and Just Dice said that in Going Way Back. BX is Pelon. That I knew that. Yes, the guards have names for the whole New York City. Shaolin is Staten Island. Absolutely. Absolutely, Shaolin is Staten Island. The bridge is Queensbridge, yes. Oh, Chicago is Chirac. Yeah, I have heard Chirac. The Windy City and the City of Broad Shoulders. I never heard the City of Broad Shoulders. Um, yes, the Windy City and Chirac. I have heard that. And Chi-Town. Heather says, where's my money though? That's why I ain't been back. No, you're banned. There's a difference between not coming back and being banned. Yeah, Heather is. And you see how she's real aggressive and forceful on here? Y'all see, right? Heather getting a lot of love on here. Little too much. Little too much. Um, for your information, plus KP never calls me back. Our friendship is trash. Ask him to show y'all my last text. Oh, snap. That's right. Because you banned, that's why. Mike Rock says it's a Heather B takeover. And we're in overtime. I'm usually off by this time, y'all. This is overtime, and Heather has crept in here. Um, Trying to like bogart my whole channel. Christopher says, what up, though, Madam Heather B? Fan since the first Real World. Exactly. Heather got my red man poster and my yellow BDP jumpsuit. I don't know what ever happened to my yellow BDP jumpsuit. Heather couldn't have fit it, so I don't. I had a dope yellow leather BDP jumpsuit. It was so dope. Um, Yeah, but Heather does have my Red Man poster. And Heather has my we used to have the long sleeve tie-dye ghetto music shirts. They were brown. There was a brown ones, there was gray ones, and I think there was pink ones or something like that. I had a bunch of them. Heather got those too. Come to think of it, exactly. Let's see. I did say Heather B killed MTV, Kenny Parker, October 14th, 2025. Well, I was agreeing with someone else. We were talking about reality TV destroyed music videos on MTV. And then somebody said Heather B killed MTV. And I agree. Um, let's see. We need a part 2 interview with Heather B for real. Do we really? Heather says, RIP to Wimpy B. Where's my money, though? Kenny's trying to deflect like he works for the current administration. Run that. Mr. York says Heather's typing with a mask on. Exactly. Like a bandit mask. Oh, George Clinton is from Plainfield. That's why it's called P Funk. I didn't know that. Original CMC, thank you so much for your contribution. Any Heather B, KP epic fails? Tons, tons of Heather B stories. Tons, tons. I'm gonna wait because Heather would have to come on here because I got tons of funny ones. Explicit says Heather B deserves overtime money. I was about to be off too. Heather really trying to come on here and like really like flex on me on here. Exactly. Bully B. That is the perfect name. Bully B. That's your name. Bully B. Rosmel says Smith and Wesson is from Brownsville. I did not know that. This whole time I thought Bucktown, home of the original gun clappers, was because they're from Bushwick, because I know Black Moon is from Bushwick. I did not know Smith and Wesson was from Brownsville. Oh, learn something new every day. JT says free Heather B. That's funny. That's funny. Um, and I'm jumping off in a minute too. Hype Style says at Kenny Park Heather B should go on a podcast conversation tour of small theaters nationwide. Hit up all the hood spots for podcasts live in person and take questions. That would be fantastic. That would be fantastical. Heartthrob says, KP, what was your response when you first heard DMX's first album? Well, my response would be more to first hearing DMX. I guess Get At Me Dog. Was that the first time I heard him, or was it on Redman 4532, not Redman, LL 4321? Come and get some. I guess it was all around that same time. He sounded like a brand new energy. I thought he was dope. Jay-Z has a record called Murdergram. I believe it was Jay-Z, Ja Rule, and DMX. I thought DMX was ridiculous on that. I thought he was a brand new energy and a dope MC. Um, Let's see. Heather B says, I mixed all Glocks down. Wow. Actually, you did. Yeah, because you went back in the studio and added the chorus and did a mix. But that is not the mix that came out because we had to go back in the studio and change 9/4 because we originally did All Glocks Down in 1994. It came out in 1995. So we had to go back into the studio and change the words 9/4 to 9/5. Do you remember that? Because you say to the 9/4 to the 9, you said to the 9 square to the 9/5, something like that, but it was to the 9/4. So we went back and changed that and then we mixed it again. So your mix was not the mix. But get off my channel with that. Heather says Kenny's version never came out. Yes, it H Bully. Yes, it did. My version is the version because we had to change the words. H Bully, that is your name. That is your. I love it. I love that H Bully. Philly She says Steele is from Brownsville. Tech is from Bed-Stuy. The only BCC member from the Stuy. Well, I thought they all was from Bushwick. Wow. Um, Mike Rock says I first heard DMX was the mixtapes. I didn't hear him till he was on the records. Heather says I've been in South Central LA all day. I'm on my last time that I checked. Shit. You in South Central? How not to? What was the movie? How not to get robbed in South Central? What was that? Wasn't Jay-Z, Ja Rule, and DMX called Murder Inc. in '98? I thought they were gonna be a group. I know they did that song Murdergram that was dope. Heather said, nope, it was my mix, more deflection. No, it was not your mix. How was your mix and we had to go back in and mix it again? Your mix was from '94. Nev Ed says that All Glocks Down remix is my favorite version. Thank you, Ed. And I did that mix the same day. The same day that we had to go back in and change 9/4 to 9/5. I also did the remix. H Bully with her wrong facts. Um, DJ Joey Joe says, Heather B, you and KP need to release your first album that didn't get released. We actually have two albums that didn't get released. We have an album that we did in 91, 92-ish, like 91. I mean, it wasn't finished, but it was like 10 songs, 12 songs. And then we had an album in like 93 that didn't get released. And then finally in 96, Markeith Bankroll says, all Glocks down. People makes the world go around. Yes, that sample cost us what we paid $5,000 to clear that sample. Heather B says blowing up for the 9/4 to the 9/5 for the 9 square. Either way, say word, word. Heather B is in there. Yeah, that line did not have 9/5 in it originally. And we had to go back and change it. HB says, I say 94 in the song. Play it. I wrote the song. You wrote the song, but you had to go back. You don't remember we had to go back and say 9-5? You don't remember that? We originally put out All Glocks Down, an independent record in 1994. And then it got picked up by Pendulum EMI in 94. And they were saying that the song is coming out in March of 95. And so the 9-4 reference is old. So they want us to go back in D&D and for Heather to say 9-5 in the record. And because we were going back in to mix the record, I decided to do a remix too. And that's why we did the remix, only because we went back in the studio. But Heather doesn't remember. CMC says Heather B's first album still gives me goosebumps. Thank you so much, CMC. We worked real hard on that. All right, I'm about to get off in a minute. Heather said, I remember my money not being shit. Yo, get off my channel, man. Heather says, bruh, my version is the one. Why is she fighting this? Your mix is the mix, but once you go back in there and open it back up, then that's a new song, a new mix. Your mix stayed the mix, basically, but we had to add to it. I'm at the very bottom too, y'all. I'm seeing all of the comments in real time. Let's get Brett said, I just seen Heather B on Tyler Perry's sister's show. Look at that, trying to get money from me, and she on Tyler Perry, getting Tyler Perry money. Let me get something. All right, it's 10 o'clock. We're in super duper overtime. I am jumping off right now. We are a half hour past. This is true. More deflection. Kenny's version didn't have Glocks down. Hit him with that funky sound. You're right. You went back in and added the hook. I said that. And then you did a mix. Then we went back in again. But your mix, we'll say, we'll let your mix stand. Because even we added 9-5. We added 9-5. So we had to open the song back up to add 9-5. But okay. We're going to let your mix, your version with the chorus is your version. I should do a whole breakdown of that whole song. Peace. Jason Wall says, Deuces mass holes. I love mass holes. That's the funniest thing I've heard in a while. All right, y'all, we jumping off. Bye, Heather. This is the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is past my bedtime. Oh, wait, the Lakers are playing at 10:30. I got to check out my man Luka preseason. So I might be up. Yes, so big up to the Rewind crew. This might be the longest live we've ever done because Heather came on here bullying. And please hit that like button when you get a chance. It's very important. And God willing, we will be here on Tuesday. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. And I'll see you on Tuesday. All right, y'all. Let me get Bully Ball off my channel. All right, y'all. Peace.